Well, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to say welcome to another edition of the program, The Bottom Line. And tonight we're going to be discussing interesting issues. This is no politics night. This is going to be a night where we'll be discussing uh, business, but we're going to have a guest in any case. And so we let to say, stay with us and be our guest, and we'll be back with you in a split second, as our guest is also in studio. So we go over to our technical man, who's in Studio B, Paul the Lord Chilople, and he's going to start us off to get us going.
Thank you, Linford. Welcome to this bottom line. First, let me do a little intro before we get into some musical break while we're sharing the show.
This is the Bottom Line Liberia. Join us on Facebook, YouTube and online radio. This is the Bottom Line Liberia. Join us on Facebook, YouTube and online radio. This is the Bottom Line Liberia.
So, this is the bottom line Liberia, and we'll have a musical intro while we get people to share the show, and then we can. So, I'll start with Takunje music just to kickstart the program.
My people, where you at? Where you at? Wake up from your slumber, stop sleeping. Whip your hands, whip your hands, whip your hands, whip your. Come on, come on, come on. I know you're sleeping now. Y'all gotta wake up some more, yeah? Okay, let's go. The people who us, the people lie to us, the government betray us, so much. I said they lie. The people fool us, the people lie to us, the government betray us. They can lie, they can steal, they will not go. I said we tired with their lies, we tired with their promises that led us to a lot of damages. We tired with that speech they preach in D and now unique they deceive us. The thing we saw, it frustrate us. So why can't you lie? Why can't you steal? Why can't you allow the citizens to beat? You see, we just tell you that why we voted you. But you fool us, you screw us, you use us and later on abuse us. So why? The government should lie. Why? But that's the question that we ask. They lie. The people lie to us. The government betray us. They betray us so much. I said they lie. The people fool us, the people lie to us. The government betray us. They can lie, they can steal, they go knock the corrupt. I said no one to trust. My people don't want to hope on. Nobody. My hope that I have been broken. I'm telling you, brother. So where are the schools? Where are the roads? Where are the jobs that they say they could afford? But they're too selfish. The people tired with their rhetoric. People tired, they tired. You see the reason why we ask why the government betray. They have enough of time, but yeah, then instead they delay. People suffer. No work for people crying for hunger. Look at. Your vision and your mission, your intention to the nation, they poor. You got nothing to show. Nothing. So, why? The government should lie. Why? But that's the question that we ask. They lie. The people fool us. The people lie to us. The government betray us. They betray us so much. I said they lie. The people fool us, the people lie to us, the government betray us. They can lie, they can steal, they go knock the corrupt. with their promises our damages. We tired with that speech they preach indeed, and now unique they deceive us. The thing we saw it frustrate us. So why can't you lie? Why can't you steal? Why can't you allow the citizens to be? You see, we just tell you that why we both tell you. But you fool us. You screw us, you use us and little on abuse us. So why? The government should lie. Why? But that's the question that we ask. The people fool us. The people lie to us. The government betray us. They betray us so much. I said they lie.
Okay.
Wow.
Tonight we have Paul Triple is in the UK and Jamal Kamara is also in the UK. I'm lonely here in Scandinavia, Norway to be specific. But together we'll be working as we are situated in those three different studios, Studio 1, 2, and 3 in different parts of Europe. We'll be together working and bringing you the much needed information. But just by way of information, we're having some problem again with our Facebook connection. So if you wondering why we are not on the page that you usually watch, that's because we're having some problem with the Facebook connection again. But these are things that we do not have control over. But again, we stay on YouTube and on Twitter, and we only online radio as well. But let me say welcome to you, Paul. We understand we're going to have a guest tonight, and you're going to introduce the guest. And in fact, Jamal Kamara is going to be conducting the program tonight. I'm just sitting in while Jamal takes care of some technical issues there. Uh, so, Jamal, can you take over?
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for having me. We want to once again welcome you to another new edition of the Bottom Liberia. Tonight going to be a quite exciting show. We have guests tonight. We'll be talking to all about business. We would go down into the topic, but let you know that we have some technical issue. If you follow on the Facebook, we just noticed that we are not going live on Facebook. But in the meantime, we're working on it. You can catch on the Twitter, on the YouTube. In the meantime, but however, we will get you sorted very soon. But Paul, welcome again from London. How are you today?
Well, I'm great. The Lord Chilope is good to be back here. I'm great. London is great. The weather is good, and the English people say when the weather is good, it brings smile on our faces here. So yeah, I'm good to be here.
Yeah, as
Looking forward
usual,
to this.
always. Yeah, thank Paul. As usual, like my colleague just said to you, we're having the guest tonight. We'll be talking to all about business. How do you manage to deal with challenges? How do you overcome challenges in your business? So he's well cultured into business. How do you help minority business to succeed? You've been doing it for a couple of years. We're having tonight as our guest. But in the meantime, we'll get back to our brother Linford, and Linford is in Norway. Linford will tell us how you feel in that area. I know it's very cold at the end, or is it getting warm in that area, Linford?
Amazingly, today or yesterday we had sporadic rain, like for every 2 kilometers in between you see rain there, and then here there's no rain. But today it was a little bit of rain. I mean, almost all over in my small city. But it's very strange that we will have 3 weeks straight of sunshine to the point where a day before yesterday, a hotel, I mean, not a hotel, but something like where they treat people with conditions. That place, the people were working, just the workers, and something happened. The whole place caught fire. The whole building burned down day before yesterday. And then that same day, the lightning, the small rain. It was not even raining, small rain, and then lightning struck, and then it was a forest fire. So they had to, should I say, borrow fire service from as far as maybe from Manchester to London. But all the fire service, because the one down here could not contain two fires at the same time. You see, So it's been really, really, really warm, which is unusual.
Wow.
Not talking about warm, but it's we're talking about in a mid 30, 40, 50. Can you imagine?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
There was no casualties, I guess.
Oh no, no, there was no casualty, and that's a good thing about it because most of the people to that place, um, they live there, and some go there to do exercises. So you have people with different conditions. You got people with amputated legs. You got people demens. You got autistic people. All kinds of people there. So they were lucky that nothing happened, and so they were all evacuated to safety. So we were happy that that happened.
All right. That's very good news. Anyway, not to keep you so long, we'll be bringing our guest on. Paul, we might invite our guest to the studio. So let's welcome him and we'll take it from there.
Thank you. Yes. Oh, welcome, Mr. Zulu. How are you? Welcome to the bottom line.
Oh, Paul, I'm great. Absolutely pleasure to be here with you guys. Really, really excited to share some insight with you. But yes, I'm really happy to be here. Thank you so very much.
Okay. So, for our audience and the panelists here, Tom, would you like to introduce yourself to the team and our audience as well?
Oh wow. Okay. Thank you so very much, Paul. As Paul said, my name is Tom. Tom Zulu. I'm a consultant, a coach. Mainly, my background is just really working with entrepreneurs in the diaspora because I know what the challenges people face when you're over here. A lot of the time, we're working, and all we want to do is to send money back home. So one of the reasons I found out, having spoken to a few of those in London where I am based and in the States, the challenges they were facing. And so as a result of my background, we decided to do some work with them. I'll tell you a little bit about that. That's something I'm passionate about because I kind of feel like business people have the key to prosperity or transforming a nation. Whilst I know politicians have a lot to do, I kind of feel like business can change people's life and the country in a way. So we're going to share loads of that this evening.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Jamal, take
Yeah, thank
over.
you very much. Thanks, Mr. Zulu, for joining us today. I basically you're based in London, we understand, and you'll be talking about entrepreneurs, a minority group. I know we don't want to, but how long you been doing this?
Oh wow. I think I started with coaching. I think for me, coaching is something I was doing, but not realizing I was doing it. And so when I moved to the UK over 30 plus years ago, um, we always wanted to find some way to make some extra money. And I think that's how I started and hustling here or side hustle, even before side hustle sort of became what it is now. And we just start selling stuff. But overall, in terms of coaching and mentoring, for the last 10 years or so, give and take.
Wow, that's a great thing. So, what will you tell us? So basically, who are your customers or your clients? Would that be the minority group or is just general public?
The main focus for me has just been, as you call it, minority or into diaspora entrepreneurs who's here wanting to make a difference back home, but don't know how to sort of do it. Those are the people that I work with. I work mainly with blacks and Asians, but predominantly my client base are entrepreneurs are in the diaspora, whether it be here in Europe, in London, or the United States, where a bulk of my clients are.
All right. I know you may have issues working with like minority group. We call them like diaspora Liberian. Are they Liberians or across African or and then from all ethnic backgrounds or all background? You don't have to specific group, but we are the me client base. You talk about diaspora. Are they Liberians or other Africans involved?
They're just generally Africans in the diaspora, not particularly Liberians. We have few Liberians clients that are based in the States, but it's across the spectrum. Um,
All right. Just a quick question before my colleague Paul coming. Just take me through to see your basic day look like with a client, sir.
what if the first thing is what a client does is depending on how they contact me. In fact, over the last 2 3 years or so, a lot of the clients that I have are all being referrals. So it's just what it is the client is looking for. So when someone contacts me, the first thing is what their goal is and what it is that they want to do. So the last client, someone we just picked up about, I think, a week ago, is in Minnesota. She has a home, and the challenge is how does she scale that business. And so once we find out what it is, because here's something I realized, right? Nobody really cares. No one knows that you care unless you can demonstrate that you sort of care. So a lot of the time is just trying to find out from the customer what it is that they want, what the values are in terms of where it is that they're going, and then we put in place strategy, be it marketing or sales, to sort of scale the business.
Right. Paul?
Yeah, it's it's good to have you here, Tom. And I see you've been doing this for a very long time. I've been following you on uh your podcast. It's good to have you here. With the thing that you have been doing in Europe, how does that translate to your own country, Liberia? Because in the West here, the businesses, the way people see business is quite different from how we see things in Africa.
That's a great question, though, Paul. For me, I don't think it's any different. So when you look at economics of skills, right, there's micro, which is the large, and then there's at the micro level. So if we think about Europe and Liberia, just recently, and I maybe try to explain this way. So recently, I started working the last a year or so. I've been working predominantly with a lot of faith-based entrepreneurs, which is kind of strange because I got invited to an event by a pastor. Okay, and I went to see his church, and the issue he had was how does he grow the church? Now you think a pastor and business, they're not the same, right? But in actuality, they're one and the same. The same thing that a traditional business person wants to do to grow his business, to have more members in, to be able to serve the community, it's the same thing me and you want to do. Okay, so from that perspective, that's sort of full principle. About 2 years ago, we wrote a program where we call, and we're teaching people on the power to be able to create their own destiny. And we're doing a coaching program. And when I wrote the program, I really didn't have any structure. One night I woke up and I thought, I was having a conversation with one of my clients, and it just, one of those things you blurt out, we're all sort of realizing. And I said, jokingly said, look, but you have the power to create your own life. And as it dawned on me, I thought, okay, now we can use this to be able to use it to teach people how it is that is possible. And I'll come back to your question in a minute. Um, and so whilst I was putting the content together, I have a faith-based background. We grew up in Liberia. For those who don't know, for most of you to know, so we grew up in a church. My grandfather was a big church person, sort of thing. But so I was looking for something that could tie that up. Amazingly, 6 months ago, as we were editing the program, I came across a verse in the Bible, and it's Deuteronomy. And I'm not here to preach, but it's important that we get it now, bring it how we can take business on a micro level in Liberia. And it talks about God giving us the power. It's Deuteronomy 8:18. And don't quote me on it, but look for it. And and it talks about remembering God, that He's giving you this power to be able to create. And I think all of us have that power. It doesn't matter whether you're in Liberia, whether you're in Ghana, whether you're in the UK. Every single person that is being created has that power. But here's the thing, right? The power to create wealth. And one of the mistakes we make a lot is how is it that we define wealth? Because most time, if I was to ask you, or imagine you had your television on for a minute and you turn your television and the word wealth came across that screen, and we try it now as an experiment, most people will talk about money. Most people will talk about cars, and we talk about possession. And whilst that may be true to a certain extent, all of those things are byproduct right?
Mm.
And so if we go back to Liberia, and for me, and let me tell you what I think wealth is. Um, and this is something I want to, I'm been trying in the last 6 months or so, really to teach people, so that way when you're sitting in Liberia, you don't always have to think business has to be this way. For me, wealth is about providing value. It's about providing service. Okay. I think Jesus was talking to his disciple, and for somebody who's business minded, and I'm talking this people like, really, you talk about that? But when Jesus was about to leave, and I think he had this gathering with his disciple, and he was washing their feet, and people was like, dude, you're supposed to be this guy, Jesus, you're supposed to be this important, but what are you doing washing people's feet? And he said something along the lines of, he said, the greatest amongst you should be your servant. And I think we forget that. And if you look at the so-called successful, the most successful people around in the world, it doesn't matter where they are, whether they're in Africa, the Oprah Winfrey's of this world, the Bill Gates, the one thing they do consistently is to serve. Okay.
Mm.
And so if you're in Liberia, then your job is to use that gift, that power to be able to create for you to serve people. Okay. And so, but you say, but I don't have a job. That's true. In places like the bird, not everybody have a job.
Mm.
But the thing is, it's not your job, it's your gift that is given to you. For some people, they're good at talking. For some people, they may be good at organizing events. For some people, they be good at singing. So how do you use that gift, that power that is given to you? How do you use it for you to be able to create or provide value for people, to serve people? I go back home a lot of the time, and you know that, Paul. We have this conversation in my neighborhood. When I'm there, I lived in this compound, and every Saturday before I go out running around, is I collect all the young kids in the neighborhood, and we teach them some of these principles every Saturday when I'm there. We don't charge anybody for it. They just come. I'll call my people. They will cook. The children will eat. We do that. For me, I'm serving people. And when you looked at Deuteronomy, um, you know, 18, there's another verse where it talks about people being able to, you know, multiply, people being able to use that gift, right? So the first thing is, once you understand that, and whether you're in Liberia or you're in wherever African country is, we all have that. I don't know anybody that is made, that it was created, that do
Mm.
not have a gift. If I ask all of you, there are certain things that you're very, very good at. Some of us maybe we love to do this. I was doing this when I was in Liberia, and I didn't even know it was coaching. The first time somebody told me I was coaching, I was like, I thought coaching was just only football or doing consultancy work, right? So we all have that gift. So when you go back to Liberia, how do you create business? All business people do will provide solutions to a problem. That's all it is. There's nothing more complicated about business. And so if you, for example, we posted in a group behind the scene, we have some technical issues. You're not the first person, you will not be the last person that'll have a technical issue. So imagine somebody decides that, think, oh my God, there'll be other talk show hosts or podcast hosts that can have technical issues. So now my thing is, I will put my business up and help people that have technical issue when the podcast is going live. It's a solution to a problem. If you
Mhm.
think you're the only person, do quick research. You'll find out that people are having it. So somebody can just sit down and go. I read a book actually. In fact, surprisingly, right? There's a book here. It's called Future Proofing Yourself.
Right.
And this guy said something in the beginning of the book. He said you only need two things to be successful or rich. And I was like, sorry about this. I was shocked when he said that when I read the book. Only two things. There's only two things you need to be successful or rich. That's all it is. And it said future proving yourself, 12 truth for creating opportunity, maximizing wealth, and controlling your destiny in an uncertain world. And that's it. You need two things. The first one is insight. And you think, really, that's all you need to be wealthy? You need insight. And the second thing he mentions in the book is perseverance. What do I mean by insight? What does he talk about? Just now, I just gave you a quick example off the top of my head about a solution, about you guys and somebody, providing a solution to a problem. That's an insight. So if somebody can go and now put that together, you can start a business literally just by finding people that have that problem. There's a lot of young kids in Liberia that are looking for people to mentor them. And again, you don't need to have a degree to go be mentor or whatever it is. There's women that have never been to school. So if your thing was you love to teach or share knowledge, why don't you go and take a group of people in your community and start to do that? Now, the reason most of us don't do the things we want to do is because we always think, oh, but how am I going to make money from it? Or can I really make money from it and me and my family live and be wherever, especially when we're living here in the West. And that's why one of the, if you look at my last podcast, as well, really redefining what wealth is.
Yes.
Because unless we redefine it as in being able to provide service and being able to provide value, all of the gifts that we have that God's giving us, we're not going to be able to use it because we think, okay, well, I can make money from this thing, so I'm not going to try it. Does that make sense? Right. So if you're good at organizing technical skills, uh, I can't do that because how will make money? But if you look at from a place of service and providing value, then your job is just to go serve. And to the level that you serve enough people, you'll get wealthy. It may
Okay.
not
Right.
necessarily mean cash, but I know we'll always get paid anyway.
Thank you.
Right.
Because I think Linford.
Yes.
Yeah, we have. Okay, I think you have some question for our guests, I believe.
Let me say welcome to Mr. Zulu. I'm not sure if we met before.
Yeah.
Probably we met at one of those EFLA programs before. But
Yes.
welcome to the bottom line. And as you going through your explanation, I'm like, and you just hit the nail on the head now, talking about most people might think, can I do this thing for a living? So
Mhm.
I was wondering, if you are coaching people to start business
Yeah.
and they are being successful, so how do you get money in return? Because you yourself, you may have your own business, but then you take your time because time is money, right? You take your time to kind of teach me to make
Hmm.
money. So then, how does it benefit you?
But in so many ways, Lympha, for me, the first thing is just really living my purpose. This is something I believe, and before it wasn't that I should say right. It was almost about, okay, I want to make money, I want to make money, I want to make money, and so I was doing a traditional 9 to 5. What I do right now is just really living my purpose. I kind of believe this is what God put me here to do, and so from that perspective, it makes it a little bit easier. How do I make money? It's easy. If I provided value here today, and a lot of the time that's what we do, we provide value for people in the first instance, so that way they can kind of see. And then when someone comes and contacts me, we have a conversation in terms of what it is and what my cost is, and we take it from there. When I deliver, you pay. If I don't deliver, you don't get paid. I don't know. I hope we're all going through much, right? That's what it is. But it's not, it's beyond the money, to be honest with you, Linford. It really is. Especially in the last 2 3 years or so, for me, it's not something that I think about because I kind of feel like I'm an extension of God, the creator, and he's just giving me this thing, and my job is just to really go out there and serve. That's it. So I look at it purely from that service perspective. And when I serve enough people to the level I serve them, I'll get rewarded for it. It could
Okay,
be,
just a quick follow up. But let me
yeah.
welcome our other co-producer, Mark Farr. from Sweden. So the equation is balanced. Two from the UK, two from the Scandinavia. So it's
Absolutely.
balanced.
Okay.
Yeah, the winner on my one. But
Yeah.
I just want to follow up by asking. Um, it's a double question. Do all of your clients succeed? And if not, what do some of them fail?
Okay. So there isn't. There's no such thing as failure anyway. So it depends what your definition of success is.
Okay, but let me break it down this way. You came to Linford and
Yeah.
coached him. Then you went to Chima, you coached him. You went to Paul, you coached him. The three of us, you told us exactly the same thing or probably similar things. I should know what to do. And then maybe the two of them succeeded in doing what you told them to do or you told us to do, but I couldn't just make it. So in a sense, that's a failure. So then the question is, why you think I will fail and the other two will succeed? Is it because I'm not interested or is it what?
Okay. Let me answer your question this way, and I'll come straight to the point.
Mhm.
So we all know about 9/11, right?
Right?
Okay. So during 9/11, there's a couple. Every morning, the woman used to iron her husband's shirts to go to work. Every morning, religiously. As long as they were going out, she used to do that. The day of 9/11, she didn't. For whatever reason, she didn't iron her husband's clothes. And so when he came out of the bath, they started to have an argument because he was worried that he was going to get late for work and she didn't do any of the things she was doing. And well, so they had a massive argument. And in the process of having an argument, when he looked outside his window from where he was working in one of the twin tower, he could see the tower falling down.
Hmm.
Now, the question is, do you think that argument was bad or was it good?
Well, I would say, well, good because the man would have been in that
Exactly.
tower.
Yeah. So every person, when you put it like that, like, and I understand, Linfa, because I used to think that there's no such thing as failure. I mean, unless you don't learn from it. Because if we look at all our own lives and the things that happen to us, if you look at it like, oh, it's a failure, you're never going to learn from it. But every person, every client that comes has different things they want to achieve. And so, my thing is, once we sit down with you and say, okay, this is what's your outcome, and once you know your outcome, then we'll work towards that. And if I think you're paying me money, so don't get me wrong, you're paying me money for the service. So
Mhm.
if you're the kind of person that will not do the work, I'm not going to work with you. I don't just want to take your money because the last two, actually a week ago, contacted somebody. I said, can you please do us a website? So I've been doing this for the last 8, 9 years, right? I do not have like a website where I send people to. We have a link that we send people to, but we're just doing a website. Why do I mention that? Because all of my 80 to 90% of my clients are referrals. So that says something about the level of service that we're providing. Because everybody will come for something different. And what they come for, we're gonna hold you accountable for it. So if let's imagine if we were doing a live coaching with you and I said, oh, the guy came to my house and he was struggling. Um, he wanted to change his sleeping pattern. And I said to him, okay, great. And so we're gonna use some consequences and things to do. But yes, what it is. I told him to pick a number randomly because he didn't know what it was. And he picked number 5. So I said, okay. And he said he's been doing this for with 3 different people. So I said, okay, fine. So number 5, all I need you to do is you just need to change 1 hour from your sleeping pattern because you can't change overnight. Change doesn't happen overnight. If anybody told you, he said he wants to go to bed like 9 o'clock and he stays up to 1 o'clock every day. I'm like, okay, it's not possible. The correlation. Anyway, so he picked a number 1 to 5, and this just was the testing thing. And if 5 was okay, all I needed him to do was instead of going to bed like 1 o'clock, like at 12 o'clock, I'll ring him up And if he's not in bed, then he has to donate 500 pounds to his local to his charity of his choosing. Now, I couldn't tell him to come from 1 o'clock to 9 o'clock because it won't make sense. I don't think it would have worked. But all we needed to do was to shift 1 hour. The other thing was there was consequences. If he didn't go to bed 1 o'clock, he would pay 500 pounds. Well, guess what he did? He went to bed. And it didn't necessarily mean he had to sleep, but at least he had to go to bed for him to start training his body to send new signal to his mind to reprogram himself. So the answer to your question in a long-winded way, success will mean different things to different people. But when you come is what is it that you want to achieve? And then we'll work on it. And if I think you're paying me money just for the sake of paying me money, I don't want your money because I need people to go and say, oh, he did work with me. And somebody refer you. And that's how I get clients. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Thank you very much. As we welcome Mark from Mark is in Sweden. Mark, welcome to the borderline as one of our panelists. Mark, our guest is here. Do you have something to say to him?
Greetings, Brother Zulu.
Greeting, Mark. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Sorry I came in late, but I've been logging on and the show had not started. So, and I want to apologize to my comrades or fellow panelists for joining the show late.
But you're here now. That's the most important bit.
Yeah. So the thing is, you work with what you call the. Can you give me a little bit of your history within
Okay,
2 minutes?
let me help him before I done that. Mr. Zulu works with minority like diaspora clients that are trying to make run their own business. So he's in the other consulting company. They handle how to help you to overcome your challenges. He's been doing it up to 10 years. So he got a lot of referral from people. Like he worked for somebody, if he's successful, somebody refer him some other clients. So he's been doing that for over up to 9 years now, up to 10 years. So like kind of all in talk about marketing, getting funds and stuff like that. Anything that has to do with business for more, especially client base, minority or diaspora, for any background. According to ECD, librarians about a few percentage of his client, but he deals with people in the minority class. Just to summarize what he does. Is that right, Tom?
Yes, that's absolutely right.
Okay, so I got it wrong. I mean, the wrong impression that you were in the, because I got a lot of questions that I wrote down for you. I thought you were in the what you call hardware business, for example, internet, computer, and data system.
Oh,
So
wow. Okay.
I put a
That would
lot
be
of
my next life, maybe.
yeah. So
That would
Everything
be
is
my next
possible.
life.
I put up a lot of questions for you, almost like 20 different questions. But anyway,
Oh, wow.
yeah. So
Now that's commitment to that's commitment.
yeah, because
When you
looking
ask
at
20
when
questions for me,
yeah, I got a question for you, but I just wanted to say when Mr. Cummings talked about part of the reconstruction process of Liberia when it include internet, road connection, and that is one of his biggest, I mean, aim. So I'm like, okay, since this fellow is coming, he's from that area. So I was writing down a lot of questions. So, but anyway, when it comes to business, Mr. Zulu, do you
yes, sir.
have, because I missed the topic, so maybe I might be repeating what some of my fellow have asked before. Do you have any business back home that is successful?
What do you mean?
Yeah. Do you have any business for that matter? Because I heard that you help Liberian to develop business. And my question is coming from like someone who's at the university call himself a professor
Yeah.
of business or a professor of engineering, but doesn't have
You don't have a business.
he doesn't have a business or he had not created anything before as an engineer. So that where my question come from. Do you have
Ah,
any
right.
business back?
But it's it's a qualification that it has to be in Liberia, and I'm only just asking though. So if it's not in Liberia, what happens?
It has to be any part of the world. It is
Oh, okay.
any part of the world is
No,
at.
no, no. Oh, yeah. Oh, but that's what I lived. That's what I lived on. That's what I do. So, but I have a business in Liberia actually. And in fact, I think I'm going. Well, probably shouldn't say. Yes, we have few businesses in Liberia. We've got a couple of projects that is in the pipeline that we're sending few of our guys to on the ground. This coming Sunday, we have businesses in Liberia. We have, besides my consultancy business, I have another business where we provide support staff to agency and local authority. Um, so you see those guys that looked after the young people. We have an agency uh, that does that. But this for me. It's not a business. I don't look at what I do as a business. Yeah, I get paid for it, but I don't look at it as a business now. For me, it's just me really living my calling, so to speak. Does that make sense? That's how I see it. I get paid for it. I get rewarded for it, but I don't see it like a business. I do it because I get a huge, massive buzz out of it, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to work with, um, entrepreneurs in the diaspora, where be it Liberian, Nigerian, Sierra Leoneans, um, because I know the challenges and we face, and I'll tell you a few of them. It The first thing for me is around mindset. So a lot of people think we can't do this because is it Bob Marley that said, we have to emancipate yourself from mental slavery, so to speak, right? But a lot of the time we have some amazing ideas, but fear holds us back because we're chained and we're afraid to go out there. And so I knew some of the challenges that I went through in terms of, okay, I don't think I can do this, or, trying to find the uncertainty in the marketplace. And so for me, this is not really business per se. This is just me living my calling or my purpose. And so I get a huge, massive buzz. Yeah, I'm happy that I get paid for it, but nothing compares to when somebody calls you up and say, "Oh, thank you, because of you, our business grew to this, or we added this amount of customers in, or oh, my brother, because you did this, we'll manage to do this, or just start a business out." So yeah.
Okay, because how they call it, my questions came from a lot of directions. So, for example, like how they call the lady from I think she's from Kenya. She believe in how they call it. She's an environmentalist,
Yeah.
and she believe in what the deforestation that was taking place across Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So, as an environmentalist, she didn't just talk to people. She had evidence that she planted more than, tens of thousands of trees. So people
Mm-hmm.
listen to her when she speak, right?
Yeah.
Like Mele Alexander Cummings, he been in the corporate world before, and he managed businesses, and he got one or two things going. He sits on different boardroom. Before you sit in a boardroom, you
Mm-hmm.
must be a shareholder. So if Mele Cummings is speaking about business, telling people about business, about investment, about management, I think people are going to listen to Mr. Cummings. So then where my question is coming from, I hope you don't feel somehow
No,
about my
no, no,
question,
no, no. I'm
because
here to serve.
if we want to
Absolutely.
transform Liberia, then some of these questions need to be put forward to people that want to help the society to transform. So that I will stop there for now and let the conversation flow.
But thank you for your question. Absolutely. I think we all have a responsibility um, to change the community and the world that we lived in, not just Liberia, of course. And Liberia is closest to our heart because it's home for a lot of us. But all of us, irrespective of where you are, irrespective of political affiliation, my thing is, it's only us that's going to change that country, and just specifically to Liberia. And so it's incumbent upon all of us, whether you're in the private sector, public sector, wherever it is, you got to be able to go back and do something. And so I will encourage everybody to go back and do something. For a long time, I didn't go to Liberia. I don't think I
Uh,
went to Liberia until my grandmother passed away.
Jamal,
And
and Lynn for sorry, brother Zulu. If you guys don't mind me throwing in a second question because as you speak, then it come to my mind. Brother Zulu,
yes, sir.
uh, with regards to, I think you often in Liberia, right?
Yeah,
Okay. With regards to what is taking place in Liberia when it comes to the trading, right? The business sector, where
yeah.
you have the Lebanese, the Fula,
Mm-hmm.
and our people, because of the cost of living, first of all, uh, I did study international trade too, right?
Yeah,
So looking at our people when it comes to the capital, only the politician now that have the capital and they are not into creating business. Even when they leave politics, they don't go into investment, right? So the
yeah.
ordinary Liberian that are interested into investment or establishing their own business, like those that are struggling but still yet they are in the import business from China, from XYZ. So, how do you think Liberian or what can Liberian do to be able to, I mean, compete with these two different groups? What you think the government can do to be able to assist Liberian, or what you think the banking sector can do, for example, for Liberian to be privileged in having, I mean, access to loan that would be able to for them to be able to get into that part of the how they call it a business sector.
Okay. Thank you for that. It's a long-winded question, so I hope I can answer all of it. And I want to start off with this whole idea about competition, because in Liberia, a lot of people we're quick to say, okay, this person. I know a lot of Lebanese people that was born in Liberia. So how do we consider them? I don't know. That's not that bit
No,
of it. That's I will come to the question.
yeah,
But
I'm
yeah,
not.
but
Yeah, just for a point of correction here, I'm not trying to be any kind of a phobia, but
no,
how
no.
our people can compete with these
Yeah,
two
yeah,
different
yeah, yeah.
nationals.
I wouldn't want to come. I wouldn't want to compete. Like I don't in my line of business. There are a lot of people that do what I do. And lots of people that some people that even do better than me. I try not to compete, Mark. What I would say is, so I have a couple of unique skill sets, and all of us, and it's a mindset. You got to remember this, right? Because the minute you start with competing, and imagine there's four of us right now on this call. If I start to uh, compete with Jamal, sometimes I forget about who I am. I'm not saying I don't have to come out and be the best version of myself, but I never try to compete with anybody. There's a young lady in Liberia that has two drugstores currently. Do you know how much she started a drugstore with? $200. $200 she started a drugstore. How do I know? Because I have shares in a drugstore. Because I give her the money and I say we'll go 50-50 on it. That's we're in 2023, so that was 2019. As we speak, she's thinking about opening the second drugstore. So we don't always have to compete. That's the first thing. Fi- Finances or funding, whether you're in Liberia, whether you're over here, it's hard. In Liberia, much so it's harder. But what I want to say to people back in Liberia is, look, start small. Start with something small. Because the mistake a lot of us make is when we start, We want to, like tomorrow, we want to be, I don't know, millionaires or wherever it is. It won't work. There's a guy that started a business in the States, and when we were doing some work with him, in about the first 2-3 months, he said he wanted to be in all the cities, quite about 6 or 7. And so I gave him my input in terms of what I think will work, right? And he didn't listen. And when he came back to me, the first thing I asked him, so how is the business? He said, oh, the business failed. And you know the number one reason, because he was trying to grow the business quickly than he could handle it. So I won't compete with people, but it's also important that we start very, very small. When I was looking for a house in Liberia, my parents'
But
house that I don't have anywhere. When I was looking for a house in Liberia, I was struggling to find a place. So you know what we did? We set up like an agency to find houses for people abroad. So that's how my brain works. I'm like, okay, I'm struggling. So I know some people in London or the UK or other parts of that going back home need a decent place. The business isn't my business, but I have two of my brothers and a friend that I used to send money to every day, a lot of the time. And so I didn't want to send them money. I wanted to find a way that I will empower them, but they could use the money. So now they find places and they come and tell me of the money or wherever it is. We started small. That business, I think we paid $150 just to go print out this and that. And Bobby and the other guy, they run it on a day-to-day basis. When people call me, I call them, they send them the money. I don't do anything with it. They're there. We got to start small. When we start small, when you have a vision, you see people perish because of lack of vision. It's not the money. I read somewhere someone once said, right, it's not a lack of resources, because if you look across Africa, there's so much resources. It's a lack of resourcefulness. So we focus in one way, and this is the only way to get money. And I know that because even in our community, those of us that live here, if I'm doing something, Paul wants to do the same thing, and we can come together like
no,
we
but
do with
but
black
but
churches.
but Brother Zulu, I think you're taking it out of context because and how to call it, say the idea you want to how they call it, dispute the idea of competition, then why do people have, for example, contests when it comes to politics? People like why America have rivalry, why other people compete with America. So the context in which you go in when it comes to competition, I think competition also exists in the business world. I would disagree with you because people compete to grow their business, to be successful in business. It's part of competition.
Mm-hmm. But it's about to what end. I'm not saying you, because you have to realize, Mark, right? The community will come from in terms of, and I use this word loosely, intellectually, the mind is in there. It's competition to what end? Listen, the best person I can compete with is not you, but that's my view. It doesn't mean I'm right, right?
Exactly. With
That's my
myself.
view. So the best person I can compete with is me. And so
Thank
if
you.
we took this podcast as an example, when I come off this podcast and I have it, I'll look at what it is that I've done. What can I get better at? Because the thing that Paul does, I have no control. I can see it. I can learn from Paul. I don't have to compete with Paul. It's just my philosophy. So I don't go
That that
competing with people.
that that I can agree with you. And let me let my fellow panelists come in. That I can agree with
Yeah,
you.
thank you very
But and
much. Thank.
I was saying. I don't
Okay.
business
Yeah,
without competition, right? But
yeah.
that's how I operate.
Thank you very much
That's
for the
fair.
clarification. Thanks, Mike, for the questions. I do call my colleagues to come in to ask you a couple of questions. I just have a few questions for you, basic questions.
Please do.
Uh, I think you've come across a lot of people who tell you, Mr. Tom Zulu, I have some money. I don't know where to start from. I want to do business. I don't think if you have seen an African say that who does not want to do business, every African
Yeah,
have
yeah.
want to do business.
Hmm.
And tell you I have up to this amount of money, but I want to start. I don't know where to start from. What will you tell them?
Yes, my advice to somebody who's just starting out today in the community or back home, right? And again, based on my experiences and the people that I work with, three things I would say. First one is maybe identify something that you're passionate about, your passion. Start with identifying your passion, your interest or skill, and then build a business around something that you genuinely love and believe in, because this will provide the motivation and drive that you need to overcome any obstacle and achieve the success that you want. Second thing I would say is, especially now, is to embrace technology. We got to leverage the power of technology to be able to reach a wider audience and to be able to streamline our operation. Whether it be you can establish, say, a strong online presence, whether it be through website, social media platform, e-commerce capabilities, to explore, say, digital marketing techniques, just to be able to effectively promote your product or your services. And the third thing is to be able to build a supportive network. There isn't anybody that I know successful in the last, I don't know, 50 odd years. You know, there's a saying, I think it's an African saying, they say it takes a village to bring up a child, right? And it's the same mentality here. You want to be able to have a supported network. So you want to surround yourself with a network of mentors, with peers and professionals who will be able to provide guidance, advice, and some constructive feedback. Seek out what I would say individual who understand the challenges and opportunities that is faced by entrepreneurs in the community back home or also. That's where I would say you should start from. I think if I take it to the micro level in places like Liberia, people start business and sometimes like some days I wonder why, how they got into that. You know why they doing that. Everybody's selling clothes, so somebody wants to sell clothes because everybody's selling clothes. But if you don't, there's a difference in loving to make cake, for example, and wanting to do that for business 24/7 or all your life. A friend of mine called me the other day and was offering me a job. And he said, "Oh, this company pays like £600 um, a day, right?" And that's very tempting. Like £600 a day. You do the maths, times 5 days, right? Because it's 5 days you work, times 4 weeks. But that's not something I enjoy doing. So yes, I would have done it for the money. Then a week later on, or a month down the line, I would just fall back in place and not wanting to do it. So whilst that was great and whatever, it wasn't for me. So that's what I would say. Find something you really love to do, or look at where you are in Liberia and find the biggest problem. Every community have something around them, whether it be in Liberia, Nigeria, or even here. And then your job as an entrepreneur is to provide the solution. That's the simplest definition for an entrepreneur. So if a lot of women going, say, for example, to buy clothes, let's say to Ghana all the time, and you see that and they struggle and they're struggling and they're struggling and they're struggling, then maybe you can go bring those clothes from Ghana, put a little thing on it, and charge them for it. A business. That's
Thank
it.
you. Thank you. Before Paul or Linfo comes, I think, guys, just confirm that if you're back on Facebook, is that correct?
Yeah, I can confirm that we're back on one of the Facebook page. The main page is it have a problem, so we're back on the other page. So
Okay.
the
All right.
discussion live is having some technical problem. We don't know that.
All
We'll
right.
look at it later on.
Thank you. In the meantime, just to let you know, to remind you that we on radio, online radio. We have a online radio. We on the we also on the YouTube. We on Instagram. We as well as on Facebook. Just if you just join you, we have Mr. Tom Zulu, who is a consultant, and he does consultancy for diaspora entrepreneurs, more especially around Africa, in Europe, also in the part of the world. You can just consult him. We'll get back to him how you got his contact. But in the meantime, our colleagues will be asking some questions. Mr. Zulu, before I let my colleagues to come in, another question I have for you: what would be the basic mistakes a startup will be have? Like come to you, what do you realize? I know you've been doing this for over 9 years, and the basic mistakes they always come across for those people who doing a startup. What would there be for you? Like they always have this, and you need to always talk to them about this. Yeah, you're muted, sir. You still have a difficulty of getting you. Mr. Thompson, if you hear
Can
us,
you hear me?
okay,
Can you hear
yeah,
me?
yeah, yeah, we are live now. Go on.
Okay, great. So some of the challenges that people have or when they're running a business, we talked about one of the first thing I realized, and I think that stopped a lot of people, and maybe some of you will agree, is that uncertainty because we live in a world where we think we have to know everything. Um, so for me, I kind of actually a cousin of mine was in Liberia and he ran about 11 different businesses there. And it was like a mentor to me. He passed away now. And one of the things I realized, you noticed about him, and I talked about solution because that's what entrepreneurs do. That's what he would do. He would be in a meeting. He used to work at the Ministry of Finance. And he was in one of those meetings and he overheard that the government was trying to, I'm not going to get specific, but the government was looking for a particular service and they didn't have it. It wasn't his area of expertise, but he just went out and researched, found people that could do it and partnered with them and they came in and they delivered the service. Up to the time before he passed away, he was running 11 businesses in Liberia. One of my mentors says something that to this day literally transformed the way how I see business, and especially for us. And if you take nothing away from this thing, please do take this away. A lot of the time, we think we have to know everything, right? I set up a business in Liberia, and we're just working on the modalities. Um, but I know nothing about the business per se. Like it's not my area of specialties or domain that I went to school with. But I saw an opportunity in Liberia, and that nobody was doing this business there. It's in the financial services um, industry. And so all I needed to do was first to register the business because that's how you start. And then we found people who were expert in the area and we brought them in, whether it be partnership or give them some shares in a business for them to go and run the business. We don't need to know everything in a particular area. When I started, I didn't know everything, but I had some belief and some passions and I went and did it. So for anybody that's sitting now back home, you don't always need to know everything. If you think you need to know, you'll never get started. And so you can work in um, the service that we provide for the local authority. I saw a gap in the market. I didn't know anything about providing care, but I knew people who love to do that. So we just went and registered the business, found somebody who loved doing it, made them the manager, paid them good enough so that they don't leave because that's what they do. And then they run the business. She's very passionate about what she does. I just check the figure and make sure and do the marketing from behind that. Right. And so that uncertainty, we don't need to know everything. Like our own lives, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but we don't stop breathing, do we? So that's one of the challenges, the uncertainty. But it depends how you look at it because it will hold us back. And so the other thing is we talk about competition, right? The landscape is highly competitive. Okay. And so regardless of the industry and competitors will emerge. What I want to do instead of competing with people, find a way to collaborate because then you can go further. Like if Paul was doing something in the same kind of field, rather than me and Paul trying to go against one another and I want to be better than Paul, I'll go to Paul and let's see whether we can do a JV. If we use Liberia, let's say Paul's in Monrovia doing the same thing and we want to get to Banga or wherever it is. So what if we came together? Whilst the landscape is competitive, we can use that to our advantage. and collaborate and cooperate and to get places. So that's one of the other challenges that I found when I started off. uh, Financial management is another area, or the funding. You know what it is. I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, funding isn't challenging, because it is. But again, is how it is that we want to start. Especially, let's go right back to Liberia in our country. Let's forget about the people that I work with over here. A lot of my business, even over here, I didn't have a lot of money, and I'm being honest with you. When if I had $100, £100, we'll do a website. If I had this, we'll do leafleting, and we just started really small. It's just that desire um, to want to make a difference, or maybe not being satisfied with what it is, where I was in my life. And it's the same thing can be true for people in Liberia. A lot of the people in Liberia, I encourage them to start a business. Start a business. I don't care what it is. If I'm being honest with you, just start some business. Find problems in your neighborhood to be able to serve people. And that's why earlier on I talked about changing this whole definition of wealth or richness, because if we just focus on the money stuff, we will not do anything. You can find people that can give you money. There's a young Liberian in the States. When she started her, she's known, she's a influencer also. I've forgotten her name. And she said when she started her business, she asked 3 people for money. So it's just about your mindset and how you look at it, because you can find people that can lend you money. There's people in Liberia that have, there's people in Liberia that have more money sometimes than people over here, right? There's people that have money, and they sit now on their money. Let me give you a quick example. So sometimes when we're doing deals and with people, and so we're trying, the very first time I bought my house over here in the UK, I didn't have money to buy a house. I didn't have like the physical money. And if you live in Euro, you will know, and I'm glad we're all here. We needed to pay like £21,000 for a deposit on a house. Think about it, £21,000 for just the deposit to get a house. £21,000. It's, my mind still boggles. So what I did was I went to the people that were selling a house and said, listen, here's what I'll do. I'll give you £25,000, but instead of me giving you the physical money, instead of me, I'll give you £25,000, and straight away pick the interest, right? Because it's 21,000 to 25,000. That's £4,000 different. They think, okay, something's wrong with him. But I didn't have the money, so I say I will divide it, and then every month I will pay you this money, so you're getting regular payment coming through. That's how I bought my first house. So if I say I didn't have the money, I wouldn't have had a house. Remember what I said? The 2 things you need to become wealthy is insight and perseverance.
Yeah, but are you, Brother Zulu, are you not contradicting yourself right here? You had the premeditated business mind, and you went to those people. And now you're sitting here telling people that they don't have to know everything or that much. So how can someone in Liberia listening to you, or someone want to go to Liberia and talk to those guys that you say that have the money, and without presenting a plan, a business plan? And how do one present a business plan if they are not business minded?
I don't understand the question. So help me, Mark, just to clarify. You say I'm
Yeah,
contradicting myself?
you say you went to buy a house, right?
Yes.
And the house was for 21,000.
No, the deposit for the house.
The deposit was for 21,000.
Yes.
And you came up with this idea
Mm-hmm.
that you're going to tell them you gave them 25,000.
Yes.
Right there, that was a business plan you developed, and you're going to pay that money through installment.
Mm-hmm.
So, and in Liberia, you're telling people that they don't have to know or be business oriented, business minded.
I said you don't need to know everything to start a business. And it's true, to this day, you don't need to know everything. When
Okay.
you started this podcast,
Mm-hmm.
Paul and you guys, do you know everything about having a podcast?
Uh, I would tell you from my own experience and from people that I've been following for a limited time with
Yeah.
my colleagues here, I would tell you I know quite. I mean, this is not one-on-one podcast. Had it been one-on-one podcast, the conversation would be different.
No, I get you, but what I'm saying is,
Mhm.
did you know everything? We didn't know everything. Well, I don't know how this conversation would have went.
A
Or
podcast is
possible.
different from journalism. That's one thing we should know here.
No, no, but that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's generally. The point I'm making is, Mark, what happens is when we think we need to know everything, that holds you back. That's
No,
the
but
point I'm
you
making.
have to know the fundamental of what
But
you
he
are
is saying
engaged
to know
into,
everything,
the
That's what
to
I'm
basics.
know
saying.
some.
We're saying. I'm saying you have to. Okay, so I could say, oh well, you have to know something. The first thing for you to be successful in anything is that desire. And sometimes people say that's all you really need. It's the starting point. Most people in Liberia and across Africa as a whole, most of us, even not even in Liberia, we the reason I got into business is, and the reason I'm passionate about business is because I know it can change the landscape for people, but I know everything about it. I still don't know. What I do is I find people who know. So I find people who know, and then I bring them on board.
All
Yeah.
right. Mr. Tom, I think
Yeah.
Link Fall and Mark, I mean, sorry, if Mark will come later, I think
And
Paul,
Paul,
they've been sitting a little bit longer. They want to say hi.
Yeah,
yes,
go
please
ahead.
go ahead.
Guys, Paul, Link Fall,
Or you want to flow, or you let me flow?
I'll let you guys flow, then I come in. Leave
quite an
for you
interesting
Okay,
to.
conversation. I
Mr.
think it's
Zulu,
going
once
well.
again,
Yes, sir.
yeah, I like to look at it from the technical side. Though you've been in this business around 8 to 10 years. That's if that was a baby that was born, that baby will be drawing water for you now.
Yeah.
I know, but let me ask you, all throughout since you started this thing, what have been that most difficult period for you that you almost said, well, maybe I just have to stop, or I'm at a breaking point. Should I go back or should I continue? What has been that particular point in time? If there is any instance that you can point to,
Oh, there's loads of instances. There's loads of
and
instances.
you almost give up.
No, I gave up before.
Okay.
So I did. And if you watch my posts or the stuff I talked about, right? A lot of them are not necessary. It's not always my clients' experiences that I'm sharing. Some of them are my own personal experiences. So when we started, I love to talk. It comes naturally to me. And so we started the speaking business. And the very first time, and I should say, actually, thank you for that question, because for those that are watching and listening today, thinking, say, oh, it's easy. No, and that's not what I don't want to leave you with that impression to say, oh yes, it's easy. No, it's not. I have to work on it constantly every single day. I have to work on my craft. For me to be better at it, I have to work on it every single day. Like anybody out there, there'll be some days I want to pull up my hair because I think what I did wasn't good enough. But I come from the satisfaction that, especially now, especially now, it's about me being able to provide value and then served. And so then I don't kill myself. I don't beat up myself so very much, but I critique myself. And so when we started, I started speaking. And I remember the very first time, my very first speaking engagement, I remember it like it was today. I had about 8 people turn up. We charged 20 pounds each. And I remember sweating like crazy.
Yeah, 165 on the line.
Yes, you know, and my hearing all the chatter in my ear, and we deliver. It went well. At least that was the feedback. But in the back of my mind, something called imposter syndrome. I just didn't think I was good enough. Actually, I've got my very. I'm sorry, it's not here. I got my very first pamphlets in my bedroom actually, and the reason I left it in my bedroom on the wall to remind myself where I came from, but also to not give up. And so for about 2 to 3 years, I didn't do anything. I was having this dialogue in my head. Like sometimes we do, like, I'm not good enough. Oh, this person said this, and what is this? And I was sweating, and all the constantly. As a result, right? It's like I was in this dark place, and I really didn't want to do it. I didn't feel I was good enough to do it. I was worried about my voice. What did it sound like? And the people I was serving, and all of those things. You've been there. We've all been there. We started something. We think. And so, how did I get back on? Um, and even recently, I had a call from my aunt that I hadn't seen for about 15 years, and she called me up, and we were talking, and then she said, "Oh, by the way, I loved all the things you do on Facebook. I so look forward to seeing you every single day." And I was stunned because I didn't know the things I was doing was having impact on my auntie who's like older than me, like how many years, and this is somebody I looked up to.
And that
So
was kind of
yes,
a booster for you.
it was, and for me now, I have a responsibility more than any time now to do what it is that I'm doing. Um, and you know, I'm lucky, and I'm so blessed that God's given me the gift that He's given me to be able to talk, to share, and to impact people's life. And I want to do it. I do it back home, and I want to encourage all of us because it doesn't always have to be money. When I go back to Liberia, I do stuff. A lot of the time, doesn't cost me money. Yes, there's money there, but I'm very creative that I can find other ways to do the money stuff. So yes, I've been there. I've been like, I once upon a time I thought I failed, but I realized that there is no such thing as failure. We just learn lessons along the line, and every single day I learn mine, and I getting better with time. I hope that answers it.
Yeah, that really
Yeah.
answers my question. And let me get to my last question because our time is fast spent, so my colleagues will continue.
Okay.
Sharing a short experience like you, when I started as a journalist way back, I was one of the youngest, and they kept me in the background. I would do interviews. I can't go on the air. They would move on my voice and play it. And then my first opportunity, I had a word I couldn't pronounce. Listen. I said listening. You listening to, and my after that broadcast, my boss man called me or he said, "You're not getting on the air for long." So I blew off. I went and told my mom, I said, I want to go to that place. I don't want to see my boss anymore because the man said I can't pronounce. She said, "No, you can make it. Go back to work." So I know exactly what you mean. But um the the, the, the point that, or the thing that I think most people want to understand from this thing that you do is um how how much cooperation do you get from people who may come to you today and say, okay, I want this counseling because I know you do in different fields. And then, maybe some of them will go and they will come back and some of them will come back and what is the feedback? Are you satisfied generally with what you do?
Am I satisfied?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, looking at your customers' response or responses.
Uh, um,
Or you think you
that's
can
a
do more, you can do better.
Oh yeah, always,
Mhm.
always. If you don't have that mentality that you can always do better, then I think and it doesn't matter whether it is business or work or just your general outlook on life. Anyway, I am my biggest critic, and I think most of us are. Um, If you look on my Facebook page, I think 2 years back, I never did any videos. And one of the reasons I was doing that because I didn't feel like I could write. To do video is easy for me. I think it comes naturally. I can think about topic and just write 2, 3, 4 points down and just go off cuff and just literally speak. But to sit down to write that same idea, like literally write it, I was struggling with it. At least that's what I told myself. And so because I said it to myself, I said, okay, what's the best way that I could learn? So I stopped doing videos live and I would just write. If you go on my page now, you see a bit of both there, but I was writing because I wanted to find a way to get better at that, at least in my mind, but also then to have that experience to build my confidence up. And so I currently have in front of my laptop the next 2 weeks write up that is already done for somebody who couldn't write before, right? So we can always get better. For our country, that's why we do what it is that we do, because we know that country can be better. By far, I promise you not. I get so excited about going to Liberia and the continent as a whole, because I know there's so much we have in us and the country to move that needle so far out there. It takes a bit of hard work, it takes a bit of mindset, it takes vision to do that in our own lives. A lot of us, want to change our life, but we can't even spend 5 minutes to sit down to say, okay, this is how I want my life to be. And so in my phone, I have that. I can pull up my phone at 10 o'clock at night. My alarm goes off. I looked at my stuff that I'm supposed to do. I can get better. So I'm my own worst or my own best critic, depending on how you looked at it. And I know I can be better with God and all the support I've got. With people like yourself holding me, hopefully, to a higher standard, we're
Okay.
going to get better. I
Thank
hope
you.
that
Thank
answers
you.
your question.
Thank you very much. We have now at least about 10 minutes to wrap up
Yeah.
the questions. But I would like, before I give you your final saying, to give you your final your department statement, I would like to take around with my colleagues with their questions if they do have any. But before I let them go, I'll give you my first. Mine will be with regard to we here in the diaspora as Africans, like doing in general. What
Yeah.
would it be like if you are given an opportunity to create an
I
environment?
think I think you guys are forgetting about me totally. And after Linfo, it should have been me. And then you
Oh
decide.
no, I do apologize. I
But
thought
they
you
will
said
come to you, Paul.
I thought you said
Oh,
you
yeah,
should flow. I
you
thought you
credit
said
all your
you should.
time.
Okay, Paul, I'll hold on. You go on. I thought you said
No,
we
I
should
said
flow. That's
Linfo
fine.
should flow. I
Oh,
didn't say
sorry about that.
Jamal.
Sorry about that. Go on.
Well, thanks, Tom, for being here. Tom and I came a long way doing this for a long time. And I remember back, I'll say 15 years back, or more than that, or 20 years, he was into this thing called utility warehouse, where he used to sell, it was a telephone company to
Yep.
people. And we started talking about it, and we used to go to this forum that at some point I decided to become an inspirational speaker from the kind of places we're going, listen to business people talking to us. So yes, the key to what he's saying, resilient and persevering. If you determine to do something, it can happen. And I see what Tom is driving at. It was through his effort. Today, I was able to establish businesses in Liberia. And based on all of those little things, they are all key to businesses. So, Tom, I know you've been doing it for over 20 plus years. And with people that just starting business, what sort of advice is your organization can help them build that little business to get at the top? Or you just give general advice, or how do you do it?
No, Paul. Thank you for that, and thank you, for sharing some of the story, Paul. Especially for people back home, right? Right now, there is no better time. There's no better time right now, um, to start a business. And yes, what's exciting though, even for people that sit now back home, right? You can start business like today, literally, depending on what field. I kid you not. There's a lady that's on air. I'm not going to call the radio station name, and has a whole YouTube channel. And she was struggling just to get paid because of the following that she gets. YouTube pay people. Can you imagine, like when we were growing up, if you told your parents, "Oh, I want to be working on YouTube," they would just send you straight back to the forest, right, in the village. You're not coming right back. Now people sit on YouTube and get paid. People are called influencer and they get paid. And so people, especially to the young ladies in Liberia, I got some amazing young lady that inspired me every day. The lady I talked to you about that owns the drugstore, she's 22 years old. 22 years old, I kid you not. So Listen, Paul, people can reach out and you want ask specific questions. Because I get paid, I'm happy sometimes to give up my time to talk to people, to mentor people. It's just what it is that you want, because everybody that comes will have us. Generally, what I was, and the reason I love business, because listen, to be able to work for yourself together when you want to get up and be able to impact people's life, there's nothing better than it. It's not the money, it's the feeling when somebody calls you to say thank you. There's that glow that goes in. But anyway, I could go on. There's specifics. If people just want general, we can give them general. But every businesses or anybody that comes to me, for me, is what it is. So the first thing I ask somebody, what's like your, it sounds ludicrous, but I want to know what's your vision. Why is it that you want to do what it is that you want to do? Now, why am I starting with that? And I don't want to know like what your business is about, because there will be times like me, you fall off the wagon. And the only thing that will get you back is that why. It's the only thing that will get you back. Once you know why, and once you know your vision, like it says it in the Bible, that people perish because of lack of vision. So if you don't have a vision, then you know you're not going anywhere. So now when I meet somebody and I'll ask them, I may not necessarily use the word vision, but I'm like, okay, so why do you want to start a business? Because people don't buy um, you know, what it is that you're really selling. It's why you're selling what it is. So if I, a lot of the time when I talk to people, why we do what we do is because we want to impact our community. So now when I'm talking to a guy in Nigeria, he doesn't see a Liberian person. He knows that this community, this diaspora community, we want to be able to impact it so that we can live more, for to be able to give more back home, so that we live more and earn more. So it resonates with people more than anything else. So maybe start with why. Once you know that,
Hmm.
I'm not saying it's easy, but the rest should be able to fall in line, and it will be able to guide you in that. So if you have a specific questions, yes, we're here to help. If you have a general questions, yes, we can. But it's about mind values, and I find people who identify with mind values, it's easier for us to work. If you somewhere else, then if it's not, the birds are the same feather flock together, right? So we don't have the same value. Sometimes we don't work, and I won't take your money just because I want to get paid. I hope that answers the question.
Okay, guys, we got less than 10 minutes. We got to be around. Paul, you still want to make your
Is there somebody in the
statement?
public that
I
have a
don't,
question?
I don't think, I don't, we
Oh no,
still
but
have,
you see
I
the
do have
Facebook is
questions,
not
but it's
working,
Paula
right?
talking.
we'll get back to our colleagues. They have questions to ask you, Mr. Zulu. Just,
Yes,
yeah, but just we have had you almost 1 hour, 27 minutes. We still
yes.
have time. Well, when they take you longer, if you mind, then we can give you extra 10
Please
more
go
time.
ahead.
All right.
We're
Then we'll
here
have
to
our
serve.
runs. Paul, if it's not Paul, Mark.
Yeah. Uh, I have my question going to be like in two or in three, so that my other panelists will have the time to ask questions.
Yeah.
Can you name few businesses, because I heard you that you help this other person, you got this other person for your own good and for the people that are listening and watching the show. Can you name few businesses that you have helped or that you partner with and they are currently operating in Liberia? That's one. Two, the next thing, is there anything that you have written before that you can share, or that if someone want to contact you from what you're talking, that you can share with them like a leaflet or pamphlet? Is there anything? And lastly, I want to disagree with you that there is something they call failure, but it doesn't mean to say you should stop because you have failed. There are great people that have failed before and they bounce back and they become, some of the well-known people today. So I stop there.
Okay. So let me start from the back better, but I come. That's perfectly okay to disagree. Agree with me. It's just my definition of it. I think Eleanor Roosevelt said it best, right? She said nothing has any meaning except the meaning you ascribe to it. So it doesn't mean I'm right. That's just how I see it. For me, it doesn't mean it's not a failure. When I stop, yes, of course, but I learn from it. And I think that Linford asked the question earlier on, and I gave the story about the woman and the guy that was having an argument. Depending on what spectrum you're looking at it from, Mark, that story could be a failure to somebody because the people are having a heavily disagreement. That's true. It's one spectrum. From the other side, it could be it's not a failure because the guy didn't go to work that money and then he died. In fact, someone once said, right, failure and success is just on the same line. Once it's at the far corner, the other one on the other corner. It's what you do. It's not the failure itself or the challenges that we have or the setbacks that we have in life. It's not that. It's what you do as a result of those setbacks, as a result, or who you become as a result of those setbacks. If you use them to your advantage to grow and become a better version of yourself, then of course, if it holds you back, that's it. So yes, you're right. In terms of businesses, I don't know whether you wanted me to name a specific business, and I need to call the person business. Um, and I have my own business here. This is how I live. A lot of what I do is through this. I don't necessarily want to call people name because they're there, but in about a week's time, we got a project in Liberia that is in the that I'm working with some partners. And again, we don't want to give so much away, but the housing business that we do in Liberia is there. There's 3, 4 people now that I don't have to take money out of my pocket to send them money because through that idea, they live on that. Um, and so the best way also is come and have a session with me one on one because then at least you get to experience it. And then you can go out there and then you can take the story out and share with other people. Mark, if you're still on, I think that's the best way I can answer those questions. And I hope I
Linford,
answered them
Um, I, I really don't know if I still have a lot of questions for Mr. Zulu, but
Oh, is that a good? Is that a good thing then?
yeah, but the reason is you've almost covered everything that I would have thought to ask you. Um,
Thank
uh,
you,
yeah,
Linford.
but let me just you know um, throw in this one quickly.
Yeah,
It's a lot of young people in
yeah.
Liberia now who are that we call Zogos, that are kind of, I mean, if I should use the word wasting,
Hmm.
they are human resource and then they are wasting, meaning that we're not getting the full value from them. Or people like you who are into this business of, you know, remolding the minds of people to get into some useful businesses. Or do you think is it possible from your end as a professional person into this area? Do you think it's possible that your group or your organization can work with some of these people because they are all over the country now, not only in Monrovia, but is it possible that you can even pluck one of them and if you work with them, you think they can really come back to normal life and depending on what you tell them and depending on the importance of seeing what you are telling them, you think it's possible?
Thank you for the question, Linford. I think the short answer is
Hmm.
yes. Right. That's the short answer, Linford. But I mean, let me tell you, having worked with a lot of young people. In fact, today I was speaking to the head of service for a local authority, and who wrote a program called Roots. And Roots is supposed to take young people from over here. I wrote a program called Roots, and we're trying to partner with this local authority to use them as the test, and then we can market this program out to other local authority. And hopefully that should answer the question, but I'll go specific to Liberia. Anyway,
Hmm.
and one of the things I found out with young people here, like where the disadvantaged young people here, a lot of the time, and even adults, when I work with young people, the challenge is, especially when a parent paying is or somebody else is paying. It's the motivation for that person to come and work with you. And even yourself right now as an adult, Linfo, and for all of us on this program is um, unless you want to change, nothing happens. There's a story somebody told me a while ago. This guy went to see his friend, and hopefully the story. This guy went to see his friend on his phone that he hadn't seen for a long time. And when he went there, his friend was there, and there was a dog. The dog was wilding. The dog was barking, and they sat down like we're talking, having a good, lengthy, great conversation. And after a while, friends like say, "Hold on one second now, Lympha, what's going on? Why the dog's crying?" And Lympha says to the guy, "Oh my man, don't worry. Let's carry on. Let's carry on with this podcast. We got a lot of people that in the background want to listen." So they carry on. They talk, and the dog was still barking. So the guy said, "No, no, no, hold on now, one second, my man. I won't really know why the dog barking." So he said, "Oh, the dog's on a nail." And the guy said, "What do you mean the dog on a nail?" So the dog sit down the nail and the dog just barking. He said, "Yeah." So he said, "Oh, but why the dog can't move?" And the guy said, "Oh, the nail not hurting the dog enough, because if the nail is hurting the dog will get up." And I say to say that is a lot of the time we can work with just about anybody. If that person is motivated enough or just a glimmer and they want to change. If you look at the Zokos or the children in Liberia that change, or anybody for that matter, including myself, is when you decide to change before you can change. You the first thing is change for change to happen a couple of steps. First step is being aware of your current situation and maybe that you don't like that situation. Then you have to make that decision. We're all making that decision, and I'm just being, oh yeah, I want change. You have to make that decision through your mind, your body, and your spirit to say yes, I will change, or I want to change. And the minute you do that, whether it be through divine inspiration, God or somebody, or through a book or something, something just happens and you'll find the right teacher. They say when a student is ready, the teacher shows up. So they have to be ready first. Those that are ready, yes, we're happy to do that. And part of what we want to do is just ready to go there. And I told you what we do the teaching in a compound, that's part of the process. I don't want to hate Zogos them who not ready when we don't have the base yet.
I know.
So we're getting the base ready. People will start telling people about us. Then when we're ready, we'll take those that are ready or go to places like the thing that, what's his name? This Senator Delon set up. We can go there and give our time because those people in our confines are somehow ready and they want to change. In fact, that place isn't far from where I live. So to walk down the road and go talk to some of the administrators to say we can do this, it's easy. But we want to get our bases right.
Good.
Paul,
Thank you.
Paul, stay in the queue.
Well, I'm sitting back patiently and enjoying the conversation the way it's flowing. And Tom, I
Yes,
know
sir.
you've been in this for a while. Are you still an inspirational speaker, or you have given up on that?
I, no, Paul, I can't. It's not something I give up on. This is my life. This is what I do, Paul. I don't. I mean, you call it inspiration speaking, but no, my whole existence now is, if I was to come into contact with you, whether I do it on a big stage with thousands of people or just one on one, is that when I leave you, that at some point there will be some impact for you to change. That's all I live for. And so, yes, I do it on a regular basis every single day. I feel like I'm blessed to be able to do it without any shadow of doubt whatsoever. Without any shadow of doubt.
Right. So if a group of young people approach you that they want to become inspirational speaker, is there any charge on that, or will you do it voluntarily to help them?
Uh, is there any charge? The first thing, I don't know what I woke up and said I wanted to be a inspirational speaker, but The answer to that is if somebody came to me and said they wanted to learn how to speak, then yes, I'm happy to share my knowledge and gift with it. But at some point, yes, the reason I think sometimes why it's important to invest in your own learning is because then you're taking responsibility. You know, sometimes a lot of the things that are free, we don't value them. And people always say, oh, but you say you're doing this, but why are you charging people? Because if I don't charge you, you might not even do what I'm asking you to do.
That's right.
So now when you invest in your own learning, in your own personal growth, you're taking responsibility. I remember my very first training, like I said, I only charged $20, right? Last week I did a session and we charged 75 pounds. There was about 20 people that came out. I did partnership with somebody. And here's what I noticed. People that pay 20 pounds or $20 compared to somebody that pays 75 pounds, they behave differently. It's just a fact. Somebody that pay father will come into a class and be screaming because they pay father. When you pay 2, 3, 500 pounds, if I say, oh, go do XYZ today, it will make you 1,000 pounds. You go do it because you know you just paid me 500 pounds. If you don't do it, you lose your 500 pounds. If you got two of those, and imagine we got a 6 session and you have to pay me before we start because I don't get paid after you do the work. This is how much I'm confident in my work that you pay before we start the session. So if you pay me, let's say 2,000 pounds, and you don't go do it, then in the first instance, you're not serious. You wouldn't have even come through to us. And short answer to you, yes. If a group of young kids come and ask me, back home, we're happy to have a conversation with them. Um, but I'll give them assignment if they're not paying. There has to be some value. They have to pay one way or the other. So I don't do free anymore. You don't necessarily have to give me money, but if you can come and sing, then and you're good at singing, then I'll give you my time. Then you come and sing so I can enjoy your good music. If you're good at cleaning, then come and do something for me because then you investing in it. So I don't necessarily do free, but I want something in exchange for it.
Great.
If it's for
Okay,
Mama Liberia, yes.
thank you. Yeah, I think we're gonna take a round. Well, before I'll take a round. I want to ask a question. My colleagues, Paul has something to say. I just
Okay.
want to take you, Mr. Zulu, to the issue of we live here as Liberian, especially
Yeah.
Liberia. Uh, I mean, not every one of us are interested in politics. Most of us want to go home and settle down, like for retirement or do something basically to quietly settle. What would it be like if you get an opportunity to suggest to create an enabling environment for people like you and myself living in the diaspora? What would be your proposal or suggestion?
You mean to go home
Yeah,
to
if I'm going home as a business person with a mind like you doing a business consultancy, and you have to advise me, and what would you think like giving a chance? Consider that Mr. Comey wins tomorrow. Or it's a leader tomorrow. Ask you to say, okay, we want some kind of create an enabling environment for Liberia, and I want to do businesses in Liberia. What will you be like consultancy? What will be your first few points you will let him know that are need to be considered?
Okay, I think that question is loaded though. So
Okay,
it's
let
no,
me
no, no.
think.
Hold on. It's loaded in the sense that look, let me be. Let's for a minute. Let's just hold Mr. Cummings in the background just before. But
Okay,
even right
I
now,
will take
right?
Mr. Comey out. I'm
Even
just okay.
right
I
now,
use an
Jamal.
example. Mr.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
go
No,
on.
my man, I get it. And one of the biggest challenge in our country, and it's only a challenge, is the environment to do business. And I say that, but at the same time, yes, the beauty that we don't get. Every time we use that, it will stop us from doing things in Liberia. The very first time I went to Liberia, that when my grandmother passed away, and for a while, besides Paul, then in London, I wasn't doing so many Liberian people. Like all my friends were like white people. I didn't talking to Liberian, nothing. I didn't. I was like, oh, the war, all those stuff. So the first time I went to Liberia, my grandmother passed away. And let me tell you what I observed in Liberia. It was chaotic. And I think most people think it's still chaotic, and it is to a certain extent. But if you look at the most successful companies in the world were formed during chaos. Some of the most successful companies were. And so when you look at it from that, that, oh my God, this place is rotting and this is, then you are not going to go there. And then what happened? Few people go there and then give them 6 to 8 to 10 years. Those people then become successful and you say, oh, this person was lucky. So yes, it's not always conducive, but I think that's what makes us entrepreneurs, the people that take risks, because that's what entrepreneurs do. They look at Liberia, they go there and they say, oh, people fighting, let me go there. Then they go there, they keep their head down and it's trying. Couple of areas in Liberia that I think is easy win for government or us, right? Tourism. It's like a hanging fruit. The government doesn't need to invest, and I'm talking about companies, whoever comes in, right? They don't need to invest so much in tourism. Go to Robert Sports. I'll give you some free information. I don't come from Robert Sports, but I worked in Robert Sports from when I was last in Liberia. And it was, when I say last in Liberia, I mean proper living there, right? Because I was there from 2014, just before Ebola, and we left. So I was working in Robert Sports, and I love Robert Sports. So tourism, it's a low-hanging fruit that the government can partner with people in Liberia, put small money here and there. The people already starting it. Take, for example, Patawi. It's Patawi now. There's a Liberian girl that runs that place there. All the government need to do, take $3,000-$4,000, give it to her and say, let's go promote this business. Give us XYZ in return, and we'll partner with you. And every time people talk about Liberia, we'll talk about tourism, and we'll talk to them about Patawi. Easy. You don't need so much money. Why? They need so much money. With Facebook and whatever it is, they can do some ad, boom, and people come. Link that with, immigration. I don't know whether you're aware, but in Liberia, you have visa upon entry. Okay, but how many people know that around the world? Liberia probably got about 2 or 3 visa. That's about it. They don't have something like student visa. When you lived in America, for example, and you want to go, now they can post it. But before, you had to go to DC to get your visa. Even here in London, we have to go all the way to the embassy. So if you're working 9 to 5, that means you're taking your day to go there. And because you brought Mr. Cummings and all the other political leaders, that's why I'm using this other example. To go to Turkey, you know how much for the visa? $20. I know that because I got a visa. I didn't go to any embassy. I just sat on my computer, fill in the form, boom, and I printed the visa. We can do exactly the same thing. Mark, you were talking about technology, right? This is maybe your era. So we can have student visa to encourage more students to go on holiday in Liberia. Then we leave the dollars in Liberia and we use that money to turn stuff around. Then we start creating jobs. So when Mr. Cummings, Mr. Barker, Mr. Weir talk about job creation, tourism is one of the easiest places they can go to start creating jobs. I'm not a politician, right? But I know from my business background. And how do I know so much about tourism? Because that's something I'm freaking about. Mark was asking about businesses. We're working on a project to get into tourism very, very soon. In fact, this morning I was speaking to my business partner for whether he wanted the equipment to go to Liberia now or should we wait. We can make money from that. So
Thank you
if
very
you
much.
wanted to go there, Jamal, that's what I would say. Look for things. Again, you don't have to be in a specific areas, but look for something you're passionate about. We want to grow the economy of the country. So get into something else. If you want personal stuff, then yes, this is generic. But if you want personal stuff, my man, I'm here. Call my number. Hit me up on Facebook. I'm mostly on there. That's my medium. And let's talk.
Okay. Quickly, I will be the last to speak. I'll give my colleagues the round, so we need to wrap up. So we get a
Yes,
fast comment
please.
from you. Yeah, we need
Yeah.
to, because we ask you if we let you go. You ask us
No,
to
no.
we
Go
want to wrap
ahead,
it
but
up.
if you have questions,
No,
please
no, no.
let's
I
do.
think
I'm happy to be on a platform with you guys. I'm really
Thank you
am.
very
I
much.
think a lot of the time we do politics, right? So hopefully this is the first time we're doing some business related or something different, right?
Yeah, this is what we tend to do every now and then.
Yeah.
Every
Okay.
Friday, we try to have something make sure we people will learn a lot from. Thank you very much for having your time with us, Mr. Zulu. I would start with my colleague from. I'll take from Kai, Paul, and Lingford. Then we go to our guest to give his parting comment. Mark,
Yeah. You just talk about tourism, and there are a few places I agree with you, and there are other places I disagree with you.
Mark,
For
sorry, Mark, you
example,
got 2 seconds, 2 minutes. Sorry, we got everybody has 2 minutes to wrap up from here. We have so far. Sorry, go on.
you eating my meaning now.
I think you're frozen.
Sorry, okay, I give you 3 minutes.
Okay. But I would wrap it on a 1 minute maybe. So for example, there are some places I disagree with you and some places I agree with you. For example, when you talk about government don't have to spend that much, because I live in Asia before, one of the hottest, I can say the hottest area when it comes to, tourism. For example, the Thailand, the Malaysia, the Indonesia, and the Philippines, you name it. So government has to spend, and where the government spend when it comes to the roads, when it comes to electricity, when it comes to internet. So government had to spend. We got some of the nice beaches beaches in Liberia. We got some nice rivers in Liberia, and you name it. So without roads, the people cannot get there. And without hotel, some of you guys been to Liberia. Hotel in Liberia, for example, in Sweden here, because I don't know about other areas. In Sweden here, you can get a $50 hotel. Where in Liberia, it's gonna be like $200 hotel. In Sweden, you can get $100 hotel. In Liberia, it's gonna cost you like, it would be like the leading hotel in Liberia. I know Hotel Picasso, what they call it. You're gonna pay $300-400 a night. So government have to spend, for example, a place at Sino, Riverside, Grand Cru, and you name it. So that's why I want to say to the brother. I think left the
I,
show.
I think he kind of accidentally left the show. We will see if he'll come back. But yeah,
Yeah.
thank you, Mark. He's back. We'll bring him back on. I hope we'll give you the chance to ask the question again if he comes back, because I don't think he got what you were saying, Mark.
No, I
Uh,
didn't, but I'm
okay,
back.
Mark, could you please repeat what you were saying?
Yeah, I'm gonna say in like 1 minute. I'll try my best. So what I was saying is that I disagree with you that the government don't have to spend, right? Because looking at the infrastructure system in the country, for example, where internet, road shortage, and you name it. So you get places the river said I got some of the nice, beaches, Grand Cru, Sano, Maryland, and when it comes to creeks, they got some of the nice creeks, some of the nice rivers in Liberia, some of the nice, beautiful waterfall that tourists, can go to visit those places in those counties. You will need hotels. So with our government intervention, how the roads, how people going to get to this area, and you see how the southeast is cut off from Liberia. So that's where I disagree with you. But when it comes to the individual, also, once the roads are there and the people can get there, and you find people like in Thailand, they got those hut that those people build, for example, like what our people live in the interior. Those people that go, they put their mats and stuff, and they are happy with it. European. So that's one of the things that boom the Thai economy. For example, you talk about the visa on arrival. That's something like bro government could benefit from, and I agree with you on that aspect. So I just want to wrap it and let my fellow panelists come in.
Uh, now, Mr. Zulu, I would just want you to listen. Just if you mind, take a note. We don't want to take too much of your time. Do we just go around? You can answer it quickly if that's fine with you.
Yep. Let's
Okay,
shoot.
Quick.
Quick round,
Mine
firing
wasn't a
round.
question; it was just
Oh,
disagreement,
okay, comment,
agreement.
yeah. But yeah, I think probably he would like to gain the chance to also to
No, no.
address that. But we will let's go around so you can just sum everything up, sir, if you mind. Oh,
Yes.
Well, thank you, Tom, for being on this platform for the first time, and it shouldn't be the last time as well. This is a European platform. Instead of us looking for people all around the world, we can make this as a very informative, educative platform for a lot of us in Europe here. And we came a long way. See that you have grown a lot into what you started over 20 years ago. And say thumbs up to you. It shouldn't be a last time on this platform. Maybe you have problem with our Facebook, the main page, but we'd love to have you again to have further discussion for our bigger audience. So thanks for being here. It was great having you.
Linfo.
Paul, it's an absolute pleasure, man. I love it. I'm grateful for you guys having me here. I'm so thankful for giving me the platform just to share a little bit, but also for us to be able to impact the community that we serve. So yeah, definitely. Hopefully, it won't be the last time.
Okay, I think that's a good promise. That it wouldn't be the last time, and we are open, to people like you, because every time we do politics, it's like we just being repetitive because we've been seeing these things for 175 years and nothing seemed to change politically. So I think the rightful direction to go as of now for some of us or for most Liberians would be into the business world where you can be your own boss, because if you are your own boss, you will not have time to go sing behind somebody just for them to grace you for the day. So, and I'm speaking from experience. I'm not my own boss, but being that I can work and I can get my own pay, I don't even know my political leaders here except for the party that I'm in. So I don't need to go to them. I don't need to go sing behind anybody. Okay. So, but the problem we have in Liberia is that because we are less busy, we have nothing to do. The only place we can find job is government. So then we have to sing behind somebody so that when they get to power, they can look at us. It's like, you know, uh, I don't know whether it's a song, but I remember they saying that when you get to heaven, don't forget about me. So, that I hope will always be on in Liberia. So it's good that we can sometimes divert from the politics and discuss some of these issues, that can make people to begin to think the other way around. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for info. And I think all of us have for a long time I used to say I'm not into politics, right? And how wrong was I? I think politics affects all of us.
Everybody.
But here's what we have a responsibility to do, not just to ourselves, but the country as a whole, starting from where we are currently, whether you're in London or in Norway or Denmark or Sweden or wherever you are. Right? We have a responsibility to that community, but also to back home. We don't have to be a president as in an executive mansion, but all of us are president in some way or the other. And so, if I could leave something with everybody that is listening, don't wait. Actually, I crafted a letter I'm going to send to Paul for your political leader, right? And it talks about being presidential without being a president. I think all of us have to be presidential. We all are president for our own economy, for our own little world.
Lives.
And so we can do the same thing in Liberia. Liberia has so much to offer, guys. You won't even believe it. I should have moved to Liberia, but because of my little son, we had to come back. And as God will have it, he's going to be finishing this year. So we're very excited to go to back home and play a pivotal role, not just stay here. And that's one of the reasons I actually went home to register to go vote, because then I can hold those people accountable to say, I know I'm diverging a little bit, to say, you know what, I voted for you. Now you can't screw up because you work for me. So we have a responsibility to go and serve back home. We owe it to not just ourselves, but this current generation, the people who call Zogos, but the generation that's coming before us. And so having this platform allows us to do that. And I'm so grateful to you guys for putting this on and consistently being here, because you could have been anywhere and using your time. And that's what I mean by being in service, right? Because nobody will be doing this, but you are doing this. And so that's all part of it. So I'm eternally grateful to be here. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't have anything to say. I just say a big thank you for honoring our invitation, for coming to talk to us for 2 hours consecutive. Thank you very much. And just to ask you, in case somebody want to get in contact with you, what will be your information?
The best way to contact me right now is on Facebook until our page come up. But reach out to Paul. I don't know whether Paul wants to share my number. I'm an open book, so put my number in your chat, and somebody can reach me on Facebook, on WhatsApp. Put my name on social media, you'll find me.
All right,
Some
thank
shape
you.
or some form.
Thank you very
You'll,
much, Mr.
you'll
Zulu.
find
That
me.
was Mr. Tom Zulu, and consultant for entrepreneurs, more especially for diaspora. He was our guest for 2 consecutive hours on the Border
It was,
Liberia. We
right.
want to say thank you for having you, and we should see you once again. Have a pleasant evening.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate all the time. Good
Thank
evening
you.
from London. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.